The views and opinions expressed in the Triple C Movement podcast are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Hey, Triple C Movement here to let you know. Talking community, culture, and capital. Black entrepreneurs, black business. Ain't to advance the culture, so don't miss it. Yeah, giving you just what you need. Hosted by TC, KC, and Reem and Erica. Elevate, level up, true indeed. Where culture, community, and capital meet. Let's go. Hey, yeah, Triple C Movement. Woo, woo.
You are now listening to the Triple C Movement.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Triple C Movement, where we focus on the 3 C's by offering our opinions on how to advance Black culture, discussing topics that are important to the Black community, and promoting entrepreneurs and businesses to help increase Black capital. It's your boy T, in the place to be. Peace and love, family.
It's your boy KC. Hold it down. Peace and love.
Yeah, it's Reem here. One love. Let's go.
Peace, y'all. This is E. Pray you're doing well.
And today's topic is integration versus segregation. Integration versus segregation. We're going to set it off with E, giving us an introduction to the topic and breaking down what we'll be talking about today. And without further ado, E.
Appreciate that. Absolutely. So I know the listeners are probably like, oh, Lord Jesus, where are we going with this? But don't worry. It's not going to be a all-encompassing topic. I think right now we wanted to look at the impact of segregation versus integration as it pertains to education. There's a bunch of shuns up in here, but we're really just focusing on education from earlier years on to higher education, so college, undergrad, trade school, and graduate school as well. So I'll start with a little bit of statistics because, data is very important, and this is coming from the National Center for Education Statistics, where it looks at the number, and we'll look at HBCUs. So in 2022, there were 99 HBCUs, and HBU stands for Historically Black Colleges or Universities. And just as a note for the audience, I think it's understood, but I don't want to presume anything. So HBCUs were established with the intent of providing education to students of color, primarily Black. But we've seen that it's not solely excluded to, and I think that's important to note, it's not solely excluded to Black students. But there are other people of color and or our majority that also enroll in these institutions. But over the recent years, we've seen a huge uptick and increase in the number of students who are enrolling into HBCUs. People have attributed to many things, the Supreme Court's decision to end affirmative action, other decisions, or just seeing the impact of Black Lives Matter. Like a lot of people attribute to that. So I wanted to start and say, ask the group, what do you think it is beneficial for our young Black children to attend primarily Black institutions, given that all things are equal, right? If everyone had the same access to the same amount of resources. So this is a very idealistic question. Had same access to all resources. Do you think that there's a benefit, or do you think it's a consequence of our children going to all Black institutions? And I'll start with Casey.
All right. I think it's a benefit so you can learn the richness of your culture. And just I see for young children, as their minds are impressionable, the benefit of getting educated with the Afrocentric point of view at some point in their life. It may not be at a young age, but I think it's important within the course of their educational years to get that type of education.
Do you feel like it should be started earlier or when?
Um, I think it could be integrated earlier. I'm thinking of my own educational path. I didn't get it in the beginning, but in my college years I did, and I appreciated it. So I think it could be integrated earlier and woven throughout their whole their career, their educational path.
All right. T,
I
what about
agree.
you?
I agree. I think it's beneficial for children to be surrounded by teachers, faculty, students that look like them, that know where they're coming, where they're from, but well, not know, but understand what kind of background that they're coming from. Um, because when they step out into the real world, they're going to be surrounded by a lot of racism, a lot of stereotypes, and a lot of just having to compete with people who have the upper hand because of their skin color. So I think that being surrounded by people like them and learning to appreciate their blackness will help them combat the forces that are going to be up against them when they graduate college. I think it's a great opportunity, and I wish I had that opportunity. Unfortunately, I didn't, but I respect anybody who decides to go to HBC or a black school, just because black excellence is a beautiful thing, and that's how I feel.
That's real. Reem, I don't want to do you any discredit.
Um, Honestly, I think it's a good thing in the beginning, but I think at some point, being that the world is large and is something that we have to adapt to at some point. Um, I think it's at some point we have to go out in the real world. So I do think it's something that's good in the beginning and probably at a HBU school. But is it only black kids that go to HBU schools?
No, not at all. I
No, no,
think like,
that's
You
yeah.
yeah.
know what I mean? So yeah, at the end of the day, is there's there's no really getting around it. You know what I mean? I black, or everything that goes with it. At some day, we have to know how to migrate with other people anyway. And I think it's a beautiful thing that we all decide to knock off the racism and become as one family anyway. Because it seems like it's racism is getting, for me, because I don't really see it as much as where I'm at. I don't really see much because I'm around more predominantly Latinos and African American and West Indian. Um, I don't really see it as much. But for me, I just think that at a whole, I think at some point it's a good time to do that so we can understand each other and we can learn each other, so we can learn from each other and know where we're coming from, and knowing that we are a powerful people in a whole. And then when we can go out there and share our love and share our well-being and everything else that come with it. That's what I think.
So let me ask, like, given what's been happening lately with policy changes and just how what's being removed from curriculum or curricula, because I do agree with you. I think it's important that we get to know each other and how to coexist. But seeing that some things in history are being quote unquote rewritten, um, let me ask the question in a different way. Do you think it's more important, even more so now, that our kids go to HBCUs and or learn? I feel like that's, a loaded question. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because if you say no, I'll be like, the fuck? Why? But I just still want to ask it, like, given everything going on with the policy changes, like, how important is it? Or do you think that they should be going to the predominantly white institutions or majority institutions and demanding that they change?
I would prefer you go to. I'm sorry. I would prefer you go to more predominantly black instead of going to predominantly white, because that's, we know where that's heading. But honestly, I would rather it to just be a mix all in one. To be honest with you, I would rather that than anything else. But at some point, I think us African American or African in a whole should have a time that we spend time together and like I said, learn from each other as a whole.
I think that it's more important now than ever. All these whitewashing of, museums
Mhm.
and libraries and taking down monuments and stuff like that. If they don't learn it now, then there's a great possibility that they'll never learn it. Uh,
Right. Never existed, right? You know what I'm
like we
saying?
never existed. And once people who don't have know their history, they don't have anything.
Hmm.
So while these people are in power and they're doing the things that they're doing, these are the places that we have to send our kids to learn everything that they're trying to remove. This is survival at this point. Um, they have their histories intact. They have all their. I'm saying they, but I mean, white people have all their 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 history and their documents and everything. We can't learn it in their schools. We have to learn it in our own schools. And so the more they take away, the more that we should be sending our kids to these places. That's the way I feel.
That's real, and I think about this like Casey, I also went to an HBCU for undergrad, and I learned so much about just various authors that I don't think I was ever exposed to, because I went to predominantly white. I was the token black child, right, at most of my high schools. And so we didn't learn about the Zora Neale Hurstons. We didn't learn about, um, The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, and we definitely didn't dive deep into it. What I learned about was Beowulf. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, that was not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
and of mice and men and shit, like
exactly, great
that
for
doesn't
rap.
relate to us. Yeah, so
No. I mean, we were, yes, alive during, I mean, our ancestors were alive during the, Depression and the Dust Bowl and whatnot. But our reality was not their reality. So me learning about, various classics that they call classics, don't always necessarily jive with me. So, but I definitely feel you on that. Now, here's another kind of question, and pardon
wait,
if
hold on,
it's.
hold on, hold on, hold on. Sorry, KC. What about you? You think that the taking away of all the things? What about you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I agree definitely with what y'all said. I think that yeah, there needs to be a space for black children to learn the history and to receive the love from another African or black descent, African descent person. I it is important to integrate because we have to work within the society. But I definitely think there's a space that we should carve aside for that special attention. I think about the Hasidic Jews, how they have their schools, they have their whole setup, and they still exist within the greater society, but they have dedicated schools, ambulances, and different things in place for specifically for them. So I think we should try to follow suit or at least carve aside some type of education towards blackness and loving ourselves.
And I agree, because it's not to say that we're segregating because we're different or because we don't want to be a part of. We're segregating to enrich, right?
Yeah.
And to pour into. not necessarily to create division.
100%.
To preserve. That's what we want
Yeah,
to do. We want to preserve.
yeah, that's true. I mean, because it can be a lost identity real fast. You know what I mean? So speaking of kind of that, the importance of pouring in, and it may be, what is it? What are things that you think we can do to start earlier, right? Because I often reflect back to the efforts that were being done, in our parents' generation, where the teachers, it was more of a community. I always harken back to these, what I refer to, and it's not the good old days, but like the times when families and community poured into community. Um, are there things that we could start today that y'all think we could do?
In terms of education, or
Let's focus on education because I think that's important.
I mean, definitely teaching the kids more about great African American leaders, and not just for Black History Month, but throughout the year. Um, and seeing different cultures. I think actually being in a different environment with a different culture. That's a long lasting something that you can learn and carry with you for many years. So I think I think that's some of the things I could think of: traveling and constant repetition.
I think that this right here is another thing that we can do. Technology is king right now, so
Hmm.
we gotta put more important info on social media, more podcasting concerning Black history and Black achievements, so that because these kids are always on their phones, so it's up to us to make sure that they're watching what they're watching on TikTok. We got to put
Right.
stuff out there. We got to put stuff out there that's gonna teach them the importance of Blackness. That's gonna teach them the importance of their culture. Because if they're only watching other people's culture and they're only
Hmm.
watching other people's achievements and they're only seeing other people's successes, then that's going to lead them to believe. And not only that, but it's the kind of achievements and successes that they see from the Black community. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
we want them to see the positive successes. We don't want them to see that this dude got rich because he was slinging on the block, or you know what I'm saying, and you can have this money too if you do that. You know what I mean? We want them to see positive achievements from the Black community. So I think social media and technology in general is the perfect way to start to improve our culture.
What about you, Ring?
I think honestly, I think social media is like T said. I think social media is a big key, but I honestly think social media give you a whole variety of range of all kinds of. You can find whatever you want to, and so the ones that's very interested in it will find it. You know what I mean? I think it's something that you have to be interested in doing that. And is it to be forced on? I don't know in this era if something that's to be forced on. I think it's something a kid will want to do. Um, um, but being that said, I think it's best to learn that whole trait in an earlier age. Earlier age. When you go to HB schools at this time, when you go to historic Black schools at this time, you're of age and you know what you want and what you might not want. You know what I mean? Um, I think at a younger age you'll get a chance to catch them, and they can understand and see what they want to do and what they want to educate themselves on and what they want to learn and what they should already have learned everything that we need to for our Blackness, because we ain't going nowhere. Our color can't change. You know what I mean? So it's definitely something that we have to do. I think it should be done in an earlier age.
Hmm. No, I mean, I agree with you. I well agree with all y'all. I mean, I love the topic. You know what I mean? And I think education is important. And I almost question If you raised a good point, like, should we force our kids to learn about these things early, right? It's like, I think about one of our conversations we had about swimming. And, if when you learn how to swim early, it's a protective thing, right? You don't have the fears, you don't have the other things which influence your ability to swim. So I wonder if exposure at such an early age lays a foundation that will prepare them so they're not as fearful, as they're, like you all are saying, they're better equipped, right, to face, even if they decide to go to a predominantly white institution for high school or beyond, they're better equipped, right? They have a firm foundation.
Yeah, I say
So
force them.
force them.
I'll say force them. I say make sure they read something, um, or watch something, or even if they're not interested, make sure they're exposed to it. And I think that's every parent's duty, in my opinion. I know a lot of people wouldn't agree with me, but because I mean, sometimes when you force somebody to do something, it turns them off to it. But sometimes if you don't force them, they'll never get around to it. So that's the way I feel.
What about you, Casey?
Yeah, I agree strongly suggesting, certain things to encourage it. Because I definitely, like you said, when you force something, I as a young kid would rebel, but make it fun and make it entertaining. I mean, there's so much history, so much things what you can there's videos with cartoons. There's different things you can do with kids to make it engaging and fun and make it into an activity.
For sure. So I guess the last question I had for the group, and something to think about, is, we talk about segregation with around HBCUs. Are HBCUs in and of themselves segregating other Black students? You know what I mean? So there's certain schools that are like, oh, that's that. You're going to Howard, you're going to Hampton, versus, and I'm not going to speak ill of any other ones, but, or you're going to Morehouse or you're going to Spelman. Like, do they segregate against their own people?
I'm not sure I follow you. You mean
Yeah,
in terms of elitism? Is that
you
what you
mean
mean?
it's academically,
Yeah.
academic segregation? Okay.
Yeah, academic and elitism. So even though it's a school for us, are we excluding our own by being super elite? So segregation, yes, it's a historically Black and we're pouring into each other. But are we now saying that we're better than other people of color who are Black people?
I don't think so. I think I think that because you got into an elite university doesn't mean that you think you're better than anyone else. It just means that you've accomplished what other people haven't accomplished. Um, I don't think anybody that comes out of let's say a Hampton or a Howard or a Spelman looks down on other Black people. I think they try to pull other Black people up. That's just in my opinion, from the people that I know that've gone to those. I haven't ever met a Black person that looked down on another Black person because they went to HBCU. The 99% of people that went to HBCUs, elite HBCUs, always try to bring their people up. So that's been my experience. But maybe there are people who feel that way. I'm sure there are people who feel like, yeah, I went to Howard and you went to North Carolina or whatever is considered a lesser HBCU. At the end of the day, those people are, they're going to be assholes in any bunch, you know. But the majority of people that I have met that have gone to HBCUs always try to uplift their people, and that's why I admire them so much. So.
Yeah. What about you, Casey?
Yeah, I'm processing because I can see and I have seen how some fall into that I'm better than you, and this kind of thing. So I've seen it happen. Um, I try to stay away from that and like pull up my brother and my sister regardless of where I'm at, because I could be down and out tomorrow. Um, but yeah, this thing of elitism is relatively new to me. I didn't. I mean, I knew it existed, but it wasn't something that was really in my thought process. And it's actually it stems from Jim Crow. Trying to separate and divide and conquer, basically. But yeah, I try to stay clear of it, and I try to encourage and upbuild where I can.
Yeah, I definitely see it in some of my fellow alum as well. And, I agree with you all in that we need to come together. And these are efforts and or tactics to divide, I think, create division amongst people. It occurs anywhere. There's various forms of divisive tactics, right? There's elitism, there's tribalism, there's all these other isms that just splinter groups. But, and that's why I think, though, the importance of starting earlier can help to dispel a lot of those other isms, so that everyone realizes we are all one people, right? Regardless of the education where you get it from, we all pour into each other. And just it's better equipped for this world out there. So,
Agreed. Agreed.
So I have a question. Are we in agreement that HBCUs are beneficial as opposed to, hindering, I guess, assimilation into society? Does it help us more than hurt us?
I think it does. I think it's beneficial because, um, for me at least, it was helpful for me to have that strong foundation and to be told, you are excellence. Period. Right? It's not, oh, you're an acceptable Black person because you're smart or because you're athletic or because whatever, right? It is, you are just exceptional, hard stop.
Mm.
And so that, I think, helped prepare me to face all the, harsh words and darts and the potential attacks that come at you when you get back out into the real world. And I say back out into the real world because I gotta say it's a nice, safe enclave, right, where it's not the reality of where we live. But it's nice to have that safety of the community.
So the safety of the community didn't weaken you in any way or make you ill prepared to deal with the harshness of the reality.
Quite the opposite. It
Mm.
equipped me, you know what I mean? And so it gave me, because here's the other thing too to remember. I had to fight at that HBCU. The number of times they lost my shit, and I'm like, you know what I mean? Like the number of times I had to be like, damn it, I sent it to y'all. But I guarantee you, after that, I was so well organized. I knew how to interact with people. I knew how to also advocate for myself in a setting where people would typically not, right? And so, or where they would look down on you and just tell you to take things as they were, just be happy with what you get. No, I'm not. And this is what, I demand are my rights and follow up with stuff.
They taught you how to fight.
It did. It did. And how to be prepared.
And they also
They,
taught us how to love, man. Love ourselves, man. You don't get that in the world out there. Everywhere you look, black man is a bum, black man is a dog, this, that, all this negative talk. So I think that for me, it was definitely a boost to the self-esteem and consciousness to love myself more and rise above all that negative chatter that's on the media.
they're coming down on HBCUs hard, this administration. Like they're not funding them like they used to, and um, taking away a lot of their their grants and whatnot. So these kids are having a harder time to pay for these schools. Do you think that that would affect I guess the overall perception of HBCUs as far as our kids wanting to go there? Like, if you were gonna get this amount of money, a much amount of money to go there, and now all of a sudden that's not there, that's gonna, the admissions are gonna plummet, right?
I mean, yeah, money affects everything, unfortunately.
So like
Yeah,
the HBCUs are in jeopardy of, they're in jeopardy of failing, right?
yeah. I mean, unfortunately, and so are some of the white institutions as well. So it's not just
Yeah, the
but
progressive, yeah, the
yeah,
progressive institutions, they're coming after them too.
I
Yeah.
yeah,
think that I
exactly.
think I think that's probably the key. Is that some white institutions is being affected too, and it trickling down to us. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's definitely affected, but
It's
it's
across the
definitely
board. Yeah.
exactly it's definitely something we need though. We need to have that kind of foundation. That definitely can't go nowhere. I mean, like I said, if you had to, at least we have a choice to say, okay, I want to go there. You know what I mean? We need that choice to say, I want to go to HBU, so HB school. So I definitely think that's something we can't go nowhere, and we definitely got to find funding. And it will be affected if we don't get the funding that we need. But like I said, if it's affecting, from my understanding, I know Harvard was being affected the other day. They were trying to, the top of
They're
institutions.
going hard. They're going hard after Harvard, Joe. They're
You know
going
what I
hard
mean?
on.
So if they
Yeah,
doing
man.
Harvard, what they gonna do to us? You know what I mean? But yeah, we definitely need to have our foundation of schools um, as a minority. You know, what I mean, we definitely need to have it. And the thing is, it's not only like we talked about before. It's not only just black kids that go there. So, affect all kinds of races kids go there too. And obviously, that's a plus. To me, I think that's a great thing. You know what I mean? So, at the end of the day, we definitely need to have our foundation in school.
So how do we protect these institutions that are priceless, really? Like, what do we do? How do we make sure that they're around for another 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now?
I mean, definitely donations. Definitely talking about them. Keep them in the conversation. Make sure that they're relevant. Sometimes, it's not even. Sometimes it's not the main point of conversation. So I think, definitely finances is always number one. But just spreading the word and letting people know. Because as a kid growing up on Long Island, I didn't hear about Morehouse growing up, so I didn't even know. I didn't know it existed until I got into to high school. So.
Bro, I didn't know Morehouse existed until you said you was going there.
Yeah, that's real.
I had no idea. I mean, I would see, like, people wearing Morehouse jerseys and stuff like that, but in my school they never taught us about Morehouse is this place and Morehouse is that place, and you should aspire to go there because of XYZ. Nobody ever told me that in
Nope,
school.
nope, nope, nope.
Until my cousin was going there, I had no idea what the fuck was. So
Jeez, that's for real.
yeah, so we got to keep these things alive, because like people can go from not knowing it to it not being around
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
Oh,
heartbeat.
that's good. Yeah.
And several schools have closed, so it's
Mm,
already.
mm.
So
But at the same time, we need some of the alumni, especially the successful alumni. I know people say when they're successful, they do what they want, but I think they need to help out with the donations and stuff like that too. You know what I mean? Because there is, we do have a lot of foundation and churches and the streets and like you said, donations, across the board to help with these kids get their scholarship money apart. You know what I mean? So if the high school, like you said, if the high school's not providing it, where they gonna get it from, and that's coming from the church, our youth centers, our rec centers, and stuff like that. That's the best way to go. So that's why it's always good to kind of take stride and look out for the youth and try your best and do what you can to make sure they do have a chance to go to any school, but especially HBU schools.
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Y'all got me feeling some type of way. I need to give back to my school now. I've been shitty.
Likewise.
I mean,
No,
I'll preach the gospel, but it is a different conversation to be like, put your money where your mouth is. You know what I mean? And so, but I do feel like I need to do more for the reasons that y'all are mentioning. It's becoming harder and harder for students because education is expensive, right? Like, it's not like, man, let's not act like this shit is free. It's not. And, to be able to pay for all of 4 years can go up to it used to be 100,000 over 4 years, but now I think it's what, like almost 200,000,
Yeah.
depending on where you go. So, and that's not even taking into consideration the cost of living. So, I mean,
and
yeah,
you got kids coming from low income communities who, without a pot to piss in, but they want to better themselves and go to a black school, and they can't even afford it because the government is taking away all the subsidies and all the grants and all the funding. So we got to do it ourselves. We got to make sure these kids have a chance. You know, we gotta we gotta
yeah, and the things
encourage
sound
people to
different.
do that. Yeah, we gotta
Yeah.
encourage people to do that for real. All right. Anybody else got anything?
Nothing over here, man.
No, I mean, I'd probably would end with saying, when we say segregation, it's not to say keep your kids away from our kids and that this is the better. It's just more so to have a very black centric um, education, right? Understanding that it's open to all, and we're loving and willing to share our history, but no understanding the importance of pouring into our youth and our young black people.
Amen. Y'all can come here too, but y'all gonna love us. Y'all ain't gonna come here and try to change our shit to your shit. Y'all gonna love us and love our culture and love our who we are as black people. And that's what it's all about. You know.
Exactly.
All right. I like that. I like that. And yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and follow us on Instagram at the Triple C Movement. And thank you for joining us again. Next week we'll be at it again, giving you some more good content to make you think. And till next week, peace and love, fam.
Peace.
Please support your HBCUs.
Yes, yes.